Hello everyone and welcome to this video on the Python programming language. In this video, I'm going to show you all how to create your very own virtual assistant. Now, for those of you who don't know, a virtual assistant is an application that can understand voice commands and complete tasks for a user. And a few good examples of this would be Google's Assistant, Amazon's Alexa, and Apple Siri. So those are all very good examples of a virtual assistant. Now, currently I am on PyCharm. That's the IDE that I'm going to be using to develop this program. If you don't have PyCharm already installed onto your computer and you want it, you could just go online and type in maybe download PyCharm or install PyCharm in your search engine of choice, and the website to download this free IDE will more than likely pop up for you. It should be fairly easy to download this IDE. All right. Also, before you begin programming, you will also need the Python programming language installed onto your computer. And if you don't have that, go to a search engine and type in download Python or install Python for whatever operating system you're using. In this case, I'm using Windows, but you may be using Mac or Linux. So make sure you install the right package or installation file for your operating system. All right, so let's go ahead and get started here. And if you do have PyCharm, the first thing that you're going to want to do is click on File and then click on New and then Python file, and then give your new Python file a name. So I already have a Python file opened up for us, and it's called virtual_assistant. And of course, it has the ending extension of .py, which is for Python files. So I'm not going to create a new one here. I'm just going to cancel out, and we're going to use the file that I already have open here. All right. So the first thing that I like to do before I write any logic in my code is put in comments a description of what the program does or what it's going to do. So I want to create a virtual assistant, but I also want this virtual assistant to be able to give me the date, give me the current time. I want it to give me a random greeting if I were to greet the virtual assistant. And I want it to return information on a person. So for example, if I were to say, who is Michael Jackson? I want information about Michael Jackson to come back to me via audio. All right, so let me go ahead and write this comment. So here we're gonna put description, and I'm gonna put this is a virtual assistant program that gets the date, the current time, responds back with a, and I'm just gonna bring this on down, random greeting, and returns information on a person, and that should be good. Okay, so this is what we're going to have our virtual assistant do for us. All right, so there's a few packages that you will need to install, and I'm going to put them here for you. So you're going to need to pip install PyAudio. You're going to need to pip install speech recognition. All right, you're going to need to pip install GTTS, Google's text-to-speech package, and you're going to need to install Wikipedia. Okay. All right, so I already have these packages installed onto my computer here, so I'm not going to do it again. But if you don't already have these packages, you will need them for this program. All right, so now let's go ahead and start writing our program. So first thing we're going to want to do is to import the libraries. So we're going to import speech underscore recognition as SR. We're also going to import OS, and we're going to import GTTS. Actually, I think it's from GTTS. We're going to import G capital TTS. All right. So that's what we're going to be using, is that G capital TTS in our program. Next, I want to import date time, and we're going to import warnings, and we're going to import calendar, and we're going to import random, and then last but not least, we're going to import Wikipedia. Okay, so these are the libraries that we're going to be using within our program. Now, the first thing that I want to do is ignore any warnings or any warning messages that we get within our program. So in order to do this, we just type warnings dot filter warnings, and inside of that parameter there, we're just going to put the string ignore. Okay. All right, so now let me explain how we're going to make this program work. So how do virtual assistants work? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to first need to activate our microphone to record audio, right? So if I were to tell my virtual assistant something, it needs to be able to listen. So it's going to have the mic, it's going to listen for our audio. Then we're going to translate that audio to text or a string. And with that text, we're going to perform some command, whatever the command is that we give it. So for example, maybe we ask the virtual assistant to tell us the time. So now with that command, we get the time in text form, and then we translate that text, that new text, into audio. So that way the virtual assistant can talk back to us with an answer or with a response. All right, and so let me say that again. We're going to have audio where we give our virtual assistant a command. That command is going to be converted to text. With that text, we're going to get a response back as text, and then with that response back, we're going to transform it into audio so that our virtual assistant can speak back to us a response from the command that we give it. Pretty simple. All right, I hope so. So we'll see. All right, so the first thing that we want to do is record our audio. So let's create a function for this. So here I'm going to put record audio, and we're going to return the audio as a string. So we're going to return it as a string, and I'm going to call this function record audio. Okay. All right, so in here we're going to record the audio, and the first thing I'm going to do is create something called a recognizer object. So I'm going to create a variable called R and set it equal to sr dot maybe it's capital R. It is recognizer. Okay, and so here we are creating a recognizer object. All right, next we want to open the mic or the microphone and start recording. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that with sr dot microphone as source. I want audio. I'm creating a variable called audio. I'm going to set it equal to listen. So we're going to listen to that that source. All right, and because I am testing this program, I'm going to put a print statement here that tells us to say something. Usually you won't have something like this when you're using a virtual assistant where it prints say something, but for testing purposes, we're going to do that here. All right, so that looks good. Next thing I need to do is use Google's speech recognition. So here we will use Google's speech recognition, and that's to recognize, obviously, what we say. So I'm going to create a variable. I'm going to call it data, and I'm going to set it equal to an empty string. And what we're going to do is we're going to set data um, equal to a equal to the method called recognize underscore Google, which is going to recognize that speech for us. So let's go ahead and do that. Data equals r dot recognize underscore Google, and it's going to recognize that audio that we were listening for. Okay, but now something may go wrong if we just keep it like this. So I'm going to use the try block, which lets us test a block of code for errors. So let's do that. So just type try, and within try, I'm going to put data equals r dot recognize underscore Google with the audio parameter. All right, and let's print what Google recognized we said. So let's print what we said basically. So here I'm going to put you said, and then put a little space here, and then we're going to append data, which is what Google recognized we said. And sometimes it messes up, but for the most part, it's pretty good. All right. Next, we're going to use the except block, which lets us handle the errors. So let's see, except sr dot unknown value error. So this right here will allow us to check for unknown errors. And if we get an unknown error, then we're going to print Google speech recognition could not understand the audio. And then we're going to put unknown error. Okay. And let's put another except block here. So we're going to check for request errors. So just type sr dot request error. There we go. And we're going to call it E. All right. And if we get this error message, then we can print request results from Google speech recognition service error. And then we can append that error message E. All right, so this should execute in the case that for some reason I get disconnected, and now Google's not able to recognize the speech or the audio. Okay. All right, so that looks good. Now let's return data. And remember, data is just what we said as a string. Okay. So this looks pretty good. Let's see, just double checking for errors. All right, so it doesn't look like we have any errors, but we'll find out when I test it. So I'm just going to run record audio, and I'm going to click on run here and then run virtual assistant. This is a test. All right, so what we see is that the function says say something, which is what we printed here. And what I said was this is a test, and so you can see that it printed you said this is a test. All right, so that function seems to be working properly. All right, so let's get rid of that. Next, I want to be able to convert text to audio so that our virtual assistant can respond back to us in audio format. So let's create a function for that now. So this right here will be a function to get the virtual assistant response. All right, and I'm going to call this function assistant response. And it's going to take in some text, right? Because it's going to need the text that we want to convert to audio. So that's the text that it's going to take in. And let's print the text. And next, let's convert the text to speech. So I'm going to create a variable called my object, or my obj for short. And I'm going to set it equal to gtts. And we're going to need a few parameters. So we're going to need the text. So the text is going to be equal to the text from the parameter, and the language, or lang for short, is going to be English, or EN for short. And then optionally we can put slow, and by default I believe slow is equal to false. So what this parameter here does is it allows the computer to read text more slowly. All right, so you can make it true if you want to. All right, so now we convert the text. We've converted the text to speech. Next, we're going to save the converted audio to a file. So let's do that here. Just type my obj.save, and we're going to give this audio file a name. So I'm going to call it assistant underscore response.mp3. So it's going to be an mp3 file. All right, so now we have our audio saved as a mp3 file, and we're going to need to play it. So here we're going to play the converted file, and in order to do that, we just type os.system, and because I'm using Windows, I'm using the Windows operating system, I'm going to use the start command to start the assistant underscore response.mp3 file. Okay. All right, so that looks pretty good. And let's give this a test as well. So I'm just going to copy our function, and I'm going to paste it here, and I'm going to create a variable called text and set it equal to this is a test. So let's run this. So it printed out this is a test, and
This is a test.
and then it played the audio file which said this is a test. I'll play it one more time.
This is a test.
So that's our assistant underscore response.mp3 file being played. Okay. All right. So another thing that I really want for my assistant is a wake word or wake phrase. So Google has OK Google or Hey Google, and Amazon's Alexa has Hey Alexa, and Apple Siri has Hey Siri. So I'm thinking my wake word should be something unique, but I'm not that imaginative. So it's just going to be Hey Computer, or let's do, well, yeah, Hey Computer or OK Computer will be the wake word. So let's create a function for this. So here we're going to create a function for wake words or phrase. All right, so I'm going to create a function and I'm going to call it wake words or wake word, and it's going to take in some text. And I'm going to create a list of wake words. So I'm going to call this list wake words and set it equal first to an empty list. But here will be all of the wake words for our virtual assistant. So you can add whatever you want to here, but I'm going to use Hey Computer and OK Computer. Those will be the wake phrases or wake words for our virtual assistant. So you can add as many as you want to here, or you can get rid of them, whatever you want to do. But that's just my wake word. And again, this is a list of wake words. Okay. And now I'm going to check text for the wake word to see if the wake word is anywhere within the text. So first thing I'm going to do is convert our text to all lowercase words. So in order to do this, just type text equals text dot lower. Okay, and the reason why I'm doing this is because my wake words are all in lowercase, so it allows us to compare them. So here we go. This is converting the text to all lowercase words. Okay. Next, we're going to check to see if the user's command or text contains a wake word or phrase. All right. So for phrase in our list wake words, if the phrase is in text, then we're going to return true, saying that yes, we did find the wake word within the text. Now, if we didn't find the wake word in the text, it will go through, it will go through this loop here. It will never go to this if statement, so it never returns true, and then it's going to go, to the next statement, which will be here, where we're going to return false. Okay. So here is executed if the wake word isn't found in the text from the loop. Right, the computer or the program will go here if the wake word is not found in the text from the loop, and so it returns false. All right, so I think that looks good. Okay. All right, so I'm not going to test that function, but now we also want our virtual assistant to be able to give us the current date. So let's create a function for that, since we want our virtual assistant to give us the current date. So a function to get the current date, and I'm going to call this function get date, and it's not going to take in any parameters. All right, so I'm going to create a variable called now and set it equal to datetime dot now, And then we're going to create a variable called my underscore date and set it equal to datetime dot datetime dot today, and create a variable called weekday and set it equal to calendar dot day name, because I want to get the weekday. So today is Friday. So for example, weekday would be Friday for today. So we need to input my underscore date dot weekday method. All right. And again, an example of this would be Friday. And then we're going to get the month, or more specifically, the month number. So I'm going to call it month num, or the variable month num. And it's going to be equal to now dot month. And then I want to get the day number as well. So I'm going to call it day num. So day num is equal to now dot day. All right. And what I want this function to return is basically a string that says today is Friday, the 13th. Wow, I did not know it's Friday the 13th actually, but it is Friday the 13th. Maybe I want to say today is Friday, December the 13th. Okay. But of course, this needs to, and put a period here as well. This needs to be able to update for whatever the current date is. All right. So that's why we're going to use all of these variables here to allow us to get the current date. All right. So next thing I'm going to do is create a list of months. So I'm going to call it month underscore names and set it equal to January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, and then come on down here, put October, November, and December. Okay. And also I want to get a list of ordinal numbers. So I'm going to create a variable called ordinal numbers and set it equal to first. And I'm sure there's a better way to do this than how I'm doing the month names and the ordinal numbers. But this is what I'm going to do for now. Second, third, fourth, and this may take some time because I'm going to go all the way to the number, or to the ordinal number 31st. All right. So 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th. Let's bring that on down. And actually I'm going to bring the 13th down. All right. There we go. All right, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th, 21st, and that needs to be in quotes. So 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th, 30th, and then 31st. Okay. All right, and I didn't set ordinal numbers equal to that list, so that's why we had that little error there. All right, that looks good. Let's now return the proper string for the current date and time. So today is, and I'll put a space, and we're going to append the weekday, and then we're going to append a space, and then we're going to append the month. So the month is December, and that's located at position 11 in the month names list. So the current month is 12. So I can just put month underscore names at position month num, which is 12 minus 1. All right, and then that's going to return December, or at least it should. We'll see when I test it. All right, then we're going to append the word the. All right, and we're going to append the ordinal number, which will be the day number minus 1. Today's the 13th, and the 13th is located at position 12 in our ordinal numbers list. So I can get the day num, which is the 13th, or I'm sorry, day num is 13, and we want to get the 13th in our ordinal numbers list, which is located at position 12. So I just put minus 1 here. All right, and then I'm going to append a period. All right, so let's give this a test. I'm just going to copy the function called getDate, and let's paste it here, and let's run this. All right, so it looks like I have a few errors. Let's see where the errors are. So today is, okay, so let's see what this error message says. Name error, name day num is not defined, and that's because that lowercase n needs to be a capital N. So let's run this again. Okay, so now notice that it printed nothing, and that's because I didn't tell it to print anything. So let's print get date, and let's run this again. All right, and now we see that it printed today is Friday, December the 13th. All right, so the function now is, or at least appears to be, working properly. Okay, so we have our function to record the audio here. We've created the function to convert text to audio. We've created a function that lets us know if the wake word was said, and we've created a function to get the current date. Now let's create a function to return a random greeting response. All right, so I'm going to call this function greeting, and it's going to take in some text, and then I'm going to create some greeting inputs. So I'm going to create a variable called greeting underscore inputs. And I'm going to set it equal to an empty list at first, but of course we're going to put in some greetings that the user may say, like hi, or maybe the user will say hey, or maybe the user will say hola. The user can also say greetings, or what's up, or hello. Okay, and then we're going to create a list of greeting responses back. So I'm going to create a variable called greeting underscore responses. Greeting responses. Okay, I'm going to set it equal to an empty list at first. And the computer or the virtual assistant may respond back with howdy, or what's good, or hello, or hey there. Okay, so next let's check to see if the user's input is a greeting, and if it is, then we're going to return a randomly chosen greeting response. All right, so here I put if the user's input is a greeting, then return a randomly chosen greeting response. All right, so for word and text dot split, if the word in lowercase, and I'm only doing that so I can compare them because my greetings are all in lowercase, right? So if word, my greeting inputs are all in lowercase, and actually so are my greeting responses. So if word.lower is in greeting inputs, then we're going to return a random greeting response. So we're going to return random.choice greeting responses. And I'm going to append a period. All right. Now, if there are no greetings or no greetings were detected, then we're just going to return an empty string. So if no greeting was detected, then return an empty string. So we're just going to return that. Okay, so that looks good. All right, next we want to be able to get information on a person. So we're going to need to extract that person's name from the text. So for example, if I were to say who is Beyonce Knowles, then I want to be able to extract Beyonce and Knowles from the text. Or if I say who is LeBron James, then I want to be able to extract LeBron and James from the text. Okay, so let's create a function to do this for us. So here we're going to create a function to get a person's first and last name from the text. Okay. Now I'm going to call this function getPerson, and it's going to take in some text. And I'm going to split the text into a list of words. So I'm going to create a variable called word list and set it equal to text.split. Okay, and again, we are splitting the text into a list of words. Now let's extract the first and last name from that text. So I'm going to use a for loop for I in range 0 to the length of the word list. If I plus 3 is less than or equal to the length of word list. So this right here is just to check to make sure that we don't go out of bounds. I'm sorry, word list -1 to make sure that we don't go out of bounds. And the word list at position I in lowercase form, if that is the word who, and the word list at position I+1, which is the next word, dot lower, I want it all to be in lowercase so I can do my comparison. If it's equal to is, then the next two words should be the two names that I want to get back. So then we're going to return the word list at position I+2, and then we're going to append a space and word list at position I+3. Okay. Okay, so let me just kind of go through this. We're going to loop through the list of words. Right here, we're just checking to make sure that we're within the bounds. I could be wrong here, so I'm not sure. I haven't really thought about it too hard, but that's basically to check to make sure that we're within the bounds. Anyways, I then check to see if we found the word who at position I in the word list, and if we did, then the very next word should be is, which is at position I+1. And of course, the dot lower method here is just so that I can put the words in all lowercase to easily compare the words who and is with the words in the list. All right. Now, once I find who followed by the word is, then I know that the next two words should be the person's name, first and last name. Okay. Now, this isn't very robust because somebody could just say or ask our virtual assistant, who is Michael, for example, who is Michael? Well, now, you know, I, I think that this would probably break this function. So I'm only going to be testing with the first and last name. You can make your program a little bit more robust if you want to, but for now, I think that this is okay. All right. Okay, so I think that's pretty much all the functions that we're going to be using. We're also going to get the time, but I will do that in the main loop that we're going to be running here momentarily. All right. So now let's finally get down and create our virtual assistant and really start testing some of these commands and functions and things. So it's going to be pretty cool, I think. All right. So like all virtual assistants, they are consistently listening to you. Okay, they are always listening, and they're listening for that wake word. Once you give the virtual assistant the wake word, then they will start performing some commands. So we need our virtual assistant to always listen for the wake word or phrase. All right, so that's perfect for a while loop that never ends. So while true, we're going to record the audio. All right, so just type record audio. And actually, because record audio returns text, I'm going to create a variable called text and set it equal to record audio. All right, so let's run this and just see if it's consistently recording audio. Okay, this is a test. This is another test. This is a test that I just came up with. Okay, perfect. So we can see that it's looping through and recording the audio and recording everything that I'm saying um, every single time here. Okay. Now I'm going to create a variable called response, which will be the response back from whatever command we give the computer. And I'm going to set it equal to an empty string. We're going to use this response variable to basically append all of the responses together, and then, of course, convert that response to audio later on. Okay. So right now I'm just setting it to an empty string. I'm setting our response variable to an empty string. All right, now let's start checking for the wake word or phrase. So here we're going to check for the wake word slash phrase. So if wake word is in the text, if that is true, then we're going to start performing some commands. Okay, so here, just to test it, I'm going to print you set the wake word or phrase. All right, so let's run this. This is a test. This is not the wake word or phrase. This is another test. This is not the wake word or phrase. Hey computer, this is the wake word or phrase. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stop it here. And you can see that the wake word that we have is hey computer, of course. And I said, hey computer, this is the wake word or phrase. And you can see that it went to that print statement that said you said the wake word or phrase. Okay, so now within this if statement, we're basically going to put all of the commands that we want our virtual assistant to perform for us. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of this print statement, and the first thing I'm going to do is have the computer check for greetings by the user. So the response variable is going to be equal to response plus greeting, and then we're going to input the text. And remember that our function greeting returns a response back to the user in text form if it detected that a greeting was used, and a greeting would be hi or hey, whatever we put in that greetings input list. Okay. All right. Next, we're going to check for some of these commands. So let's check to see if the user said anything having to do with the date. So just type if date is in the text, then we're going to create a variable called getDate and set it equal to our function called getDate that returns the date as a string. Remember, getDate returns, if I go back up here, it returns today is, and then the weekday. So obviously today is Friday. It returns the month, which is December the 13th. And so that's what getDate will be equal to here. So that's good. So now I'm going to set response equal to response plus, well, really I'm just appending a space plus get underscore date. All right. So that looks good. Next, let's check if the user said who is. So here we're going to check to see if the user said who is, because we want to get information about a person. So if who is in the text, then I'm going to create a variable called person, and I'm going to set it equal to our function called getPerson that takes in some text. So it's going to give us the first and last name of that person. And then I'm going to create a variable called wiki and set it equal to wikipedia.summary. And inside of the summary method, I'm going to input person in the parameter, which is the person's first and last name. And then I want to return 2 sentences about that person from Wikipedia. And then our response variable will equal response plus a space. So we're going to append a space plus wiki. Okay. And then let's have the assistant respond back using audio and the text from response. So we're going to just use the assistant response function that we created earlier, and we're going to input the response. So let's test this, and then I will add in the time as well. So let's go ahead and run this. Hey computer, what's today's date and who is LeBron James?
Hello. Today is Friday, December the 13th. LeBron Ramon James Sr., born December 30th, 1984, is an American professional basketball player for the Los Angeles Lakers of the National Basketball Association, NBA.
All right, perfect. So we can see that the virtual assistant responded back with a random greeting. It said hello, and then it told me today's date, and it gave me information on LeBron James. So that's pretty cool. Now let's add in the time. So here we're going to check to see if the user said anything having to do with the time. So if time was found in the text, then we're going to basically create a string to respond back, or to append to our response variable, so that we can respond back using our assistant response function, so we can respond back in audio. All right, so I'm going to create a variable called now, and I'm going to set it equal to datetime dot now, and I'm going to create a variable called meridian, and I believe meridian stands for midday, but don't quote me on that. Okay. All right, so if now dot hour is greater than or equal to 12, then meridian is going to equal p dot m, and I believe that stands for post meridian, which means after midday. All right, and the hour is going to equal now dot hour minus 12. Okay, so that way I'm not getting military time. All right, else meridian is equal to a dot m, or am, and that stands for anti meridian. I'm not sure really how to pronounce it. Okay, so that's am, and I believe that's before midday. All right, and then we're going to set hour equal to now dot hour. I probably should have set hour to now dot hour at the very beginning and just use that variable, but that's fine. We'll just leave it like this for now. Next, I want to convert minute into a proper string. So if now dot minute is less than 10, so that means if it's a single digit, then minute will be a 0, appended by the string version of the number minute, now.minute, because it's going to be a number that's less than 10. So it's going to be, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's going to be one of those numbers. And so when I put it in text form, I want it to have 0, 9 or 0, 8. So that's all that we're doing here. Else, it's a number that is greater than or equal to 10. So minute will just be the string version of now.minute. Okay. And response is going to equal response plus, or appending, a space, and then we're going to append it is, and then put a space there, and append the hour, and then we're going to append a colon. I think that's called a colon. And then we're going to append the minute, and then we're going to append a space, and then append meridian, and then append a period. Okay, and that looks good. So let's run this. Hey computer, what's today's date? What time is it? And who is Kimba Walker?
Hey there. Today is Friday, December the 13th. It is 2 o'clock p.m. Kemba Hudley Walker, born May 8, 1990, is an American professional basketball player for the Boston Celtics of the National Basketball Association, NBA. Walker was picked 9th overall by the Charlotte Bobcats in the 2011 NBA.
All right, so that's good enough there, and I think this is pretty good. That's basically it. So I really hope that you all enjoyed this video on creating a virtual assistant using Python. You can, of course, always make it better, and I may have made some mistakes in here, but for the most part, I really hope you enjoyed it. Please leave any questions you have in the comment section. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and that like button. And if you found this video helpful, please share it. Maybe others will find it helpful as well. And be sure to come back for more videos on Python and machine learning. And as always, thank you all for watching. And I should also say I have an article on this that I will put in the description below. So check that out too. And I'll see you all in the next video.